Hey everyone, welcome to Miss Watley Presents Old School Tuesday Turnup. I am so glad to be back here once again. I know it's been a long time since I've been back, but listen, I'm glad I'm here tonight, and I have a special guest who's here to kick off my December interviews. Without further ado, please welcome, but wait, you guys know the song. Don't make me over. Don't make me over. No, I didn't realize I can't sing. So without further ado, please welcome the one, the only, Miss Sybil. Hey.
Hey.
How are you?
I am good. I'm good. I am
That's
really
good.
good. Good to be here.
That's good. I'm so glad I'm back too. And plus, you get to kick off my December interview. So that's why I really, really love that you're here. So,
I like
yes.
December. Yes, I like December.
How you been and everything? How you been doing?
I've been good. No complaints. I've been good. Just you kind of flipping and kind of shifting and doing what you got to do in this new season. Yeah.
Okay. So now that you haven't been on a stage in how long have you not really been on a stage? How long has it been?
It's been since oh gosh. Well, I was supposed to go out of the country in April, so I will say January was probably the last time. I've done some virtual stuff, but it's not quite the same. It's not quite the same. I have done some festivals for some organizations outside of the U.S., and I've done some stuff for some groups in the U.S., and it's just different. So I'm looking forward to when we can travel again and perform again.
Okay, so do you like now sit at home and really go all the way? Just think back, like, man, I remember being on stage and when you first started off into music, like, what really got you into music and having the gift of song?
I think that it's part of my DNA, to be honest with you. No, I grew up around music. I grew up exposed to all different types of music. The different genres were in my household. It was jazz. It was soul, blues, R&B, soul stuff. Then we had, it didn't look like me, so everyone wasn't listening to the music I was listening to. And I grew up exposed to house music. And so I guess the platforms that I was able to be or exposed to and had access to allowed me the opportunity to just kind of be exposed to so many different types of music. And so singing was just, like I said, part of my DNA. And my mom sings, my aunt sings, my mom's side of the family sings, and my cousin Maxine is an original member of the group In Vogue. And so we just, it's just part of who we are. And I think most Black people, to be honest with you, have a little something,
Well, I don't sing, so don't worry about me. We established that.
But you got soul. But you got soul.
I asked you about, the other day, what you think about voice. You're like, no, I'm not answering that question. I'm like, hey, don't. I know I can't sing. I was in the choir, but I don't need to be singing, so I'm good. Like, it's like, don't quit your day job. Singing's not for me. Other things I can do, dancing, yes, I can do this. But singing, no. At least I'm real. I told you,
the bottom line is that we all have our gifts, and that's the thing. Is I think some people are not working in their gifts. And that was the evolution of auto tunes. But anyway,
right, we'll get into that later, because that auto tune, I'm telling you, everybody's using it, and I'm like, no, it's like, are you cheating to sing? Why can't you just sing with your voice when you realize they can't sing anyway? So that's what they have to use, auto tunes, and that's sad. So how long did it take you to get you your first big break?
The thing is, was not one, I was reluctant. I was a reluctant singer. I've always wanted to be a songwriter. And so in 1986, I had the opportunity to meet with some producers who were looking for someone to record a demo. That demo subsequently led into my first record, which was a big underground house record called Falling in Love, 1986, Falling in Love. And then after that, I had Let Yourself Go, My Love is Guaranteed, Can't Wait Until Tomorrow, Don't Make Me Over. So I had, before Don't Make Me Over, I had done really well with dance and house music. And the kind of the foray into R&B was a little different for me because I was used to being in clubs at the wee hours of the morning, and I was not used to, the tradition. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I'm talking about it is what it is. So I would have, I remember having shows. I would have 3 shows a night. I would do a traditional show, and then I would have a show that was kind of maybe 11 o'clock, and then I'd have a 3 o'clock in the morning show. So needless to say, it was interesting.
Not a 3 o'clock in the morning show. Who was out here? Let me not even. No,
Don't even go there.
Like, who was? Never mind. Wait a minute. I had to think. Wait a minute. I'm used to. Let me hush. I'm not gonna put my business out there. But who's out here 3 o'clock in the morning? Hey, nothing wrong with that. Hey, nothing wrong with that. But okay. So speaking of "Don't Make Me Over," it was actually originally done by Dionne Warwick, and also she did "Walk On By," which you covered both her hits. And so how did you even land those 2 classic hits done by soul legend Dionne Warwick?
Well, let me just say this. It was not my intention. I had originally done Walk On By, had no plans on doing Don't Make Me Over. The record company president, Eddie O'Loughlin, said, I want you to try this record. And I will have to be very honest, I did not like it. I thought that it was not, I just wasn't, I didn't like it at first. And I didn't like it until it was remixed. That's when I loved it. I'm just going to be really frank, because the first version, if you hear the original version, it's really very, very serene. And I'm going from house, house kind of belters driven group to a totally different vibe. And so it just didn't resonate with me initially. Walk On By, I was familiar with it because other people had done it. Other people had done it. Isaac Hayes had done it. Kashif, I think it was Kashif had done it. People had done it. And so I was familiar with it and I felt more comfortable. But it was once it was put into the hands of this soul kid out of the UK, Tony King, who was had heard the soul to soul, was kind of introduced to the soul to soul type of vibe. When he gave it a facelift, I thought, wow. And so that ended up being the precursor to Walk On By. So Walk On By was on the back burner to Don't Make Me Over. But then I started paying attention to the words, the lyrics, and what they were saying, because it says, don't accept me for what I am, accept me for the things that I do. And I think in these times that's so relevant to who we are. And as a woman who did not look like or fit the mold of a lot of artists at that time, it said a lot to me. I mean, it was empowering because, I was in an industry, in an industry where it became very visually, you became desensitized to the actual artistry, and it was about the visuals and how people looked. And if you weren't a certain size, if your hair wasn't a certain length, if your complexion wasn't, it became more of a problem than anything. But I was nestled safely in a community of people with house and dance artists and DJs who loved me and all of this, and all of this poundage that I might have had, and so it was just different. They were different times. It was different for me, and so I don't know if we had done it differently, would the success have been the same? I don't know, but it kind of introduced me to a whole new market, because in 1987 I started traveling outside of the United States. I got my first passport. And so the rest, I mean, honestly, has been history. It's been a really, really awesome ride for me.
So what do you think why the song is still popular to this day? Because my makeup artist, it was funny because when I was getting my makeup done, I'm like, you ever heard of Sybil? She's like, yeah, I heard of Sybil. And I'm like, after everybody interview, you never heard of them, but you heard of Sybil. She said, yes. I don't know how, but I heard of Sybil. And I'm like wondering, like, how is that song, Don't Make Me Over, how is it still so popular to this day? What makes it still popular?
Radio, good old fashioned classic old school radio have helped to keep it out out front. On top of that, you got to think about the people who were listening to it had children, and so when they're in the house, you know, you're gonna listen to what mama and them listen to, and so it's just it. I think of it, and it's not just in the U.S. It's abroad. I can do songs that I would have never ever thought that I'd have a 25, 30-year-old in the audience, but because in their household they were listening to Sybil music, they became familiar with my songs, and so I think that it's radio, and I say that old school R&B radio, and people who still requested satellite radio. I like getting my little coins that come in, you know, because they're still playing it on, you know, on satellite radio, and it's being streamed.
Right.
You never ever know what you don't know. But what I have come to realize is that I appreciate the small victories that a song created for me in terms of monetarily. And, you know, seriously, but also socially, it helped me to be able to be a voice. And that's what I most appreciate about Don't Make Me Over, because it turned the corner for me from being, you know, a house or dance diva to just being a, you know, seriously, I mean, that's, you know, what it was. And then radio helped me to kind of be able to venture into other things. And that was really cool. And it's been very, very good for me.
Right. Because like the movie, of course, Mo Money. I love that movie dearly. And so the song, Caron Wheeler sit there and sampled the song and, you know, did her version called I Adore You. So it's like, wait a minute. So when I Googled it, of course, they're like, and they even gave you praise, like it was sampled from Sybil's you know, Don't Make Me Over. So what is that?
And I'm gonna tell you, I was mad about that, Priscilla.
You were?
I was mad because I love Caron Wheeler, but I said Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis could have asked me to do the song.
Right, you would have been perfect for it because the sample both I mean, her version is really good. It's that it feels like that sexual side of it, and it gets you going, moving. You know, gets you all want to. I can't say, but it gets you going when you hear it, especially in the movie. But then if you really listen to the beat and the lyrics, it's like, wait a minute, that song is your version. They could have put you on the song. Damn, Katie, they could have just used your version. But either way it goes. So like, what is that like knowing your song was sampled, but now for a soundtrack for a movie?
Well, I mean, the thing is, it wasn't the only one. I mean, Troop did it. It's been sampled. My little snippets of my voice have been in art and hip hop records, and you know what? It says a lot about what they thought about me, and so I won't complain. I will not complain about it. I will just kind of, you know, I accept it. But I will, and I say this, it was so funny. I'll never forget. I was traveling, and when I heard about the song, and my mother. This is the funny thing. My mother hears the song on the radio, and she goes, "You got a new song out in New York." I never forget it. And I thought, no, I don't. Not yet. It's not out yet. She said, "No, I heard you. I heard your voice. I know that that's you." And it was Caron Wheeler's "I Adore You" on the Mo Money soundtrack. That was the funniest thing. So my mother heard it probably before anyone. Yeah.
Did you ever feel like during that time frame, during your success, did you ever feel like you wanted to, after your first album, give up? Because I know you did 6 studio albums, but after the first album, did you really think like, wait a minute, I kind of want to give up? But if you didn't, what really motivated you to keep going?
You know, the first album, the thing is that the first album that I did had all of the dance hits, all of the dance early underground hits that took me to the UK and took me to parts of Asia. I didn't want to quit then. Let me tell you what makes, and I think any artist will say this, what makes you want to quit is the bureaucracy and the political parts that come into play. I just wanted to be creative. I wanted to be able to have an outlet to be just that, creative. But oftentimes you have power brokers behind the scene trying to negotiate and make deals on your behalf without taking into consideration the artist. And so I wanted to throw in the towel on that part of it, because I felt like I had to fight for everything that I'd gotten. Because I will tell you this, I did not see one royalty until I said that I was not going to sing or promote Don't Make Me Over. I said, I'm not doing anything. I had made hit records and sold lots of records, but had not received a royalty. The way that I made my money was because I traveled and worked and did clubs and did shows. That's how I made my money. Not until I kicked up dust. And that's when I realized that you will have everyone manages differently. And subsequently, I ended up having a great manager, and now I have a great manager because I trust them. They know who I am, but it took me having a horrible management situation and production situation to really understand how to handle what the importance of handling your business. And I've made a lot of people a lot of money and made them millionaires, and I've had to still work for my millions to try to earn the millions. And it's okay, because the one thing that my parents instilled in me was education. See, unlike a whole lot of people, I have that to fall back on. And I say that, I say that to young people. I say that to people. One of the things that you cannot take away from a person is what is their learning. You know, you cannot take away how they've equipped themselves with knowledge and information to do more than just, I'm more than just a singer. I have the gift to be able to sing, but I have other gifts that I've been given. And so for me, that's what's really, really important, because I had to fall back on that when I decided I was going to, I wanted to, like you say, I wanted to throw in the towel. And what ended up happening was I went out of the country and experienced love from people that weren't American. They were not from here. They were, I have a large following and a lot of supporters from the UK, South Africa, the Philippines, and parts of Asia. So I don't dismiss. I had to go through that to get to this place that I'm in.
Right, but because like I know you saying like sampling, like I know another hit you did was with Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes. You did The Love I Lost, and I'm like, wait a minute, if I heard this song, looked it up, I'm like, hey, that's Harold Melvin and the Blue. You did their song, covered their song. How did you even get lucky? And what was you also covering their hit, their biggest when you came back, because they did it in 1973. You came back in 90. You did it in 93. 20 years later.
20 years later, yeah. It was interesting, and those were interesting times because we were looking for a record, and in particular, because I was doing a lot of work in the UK. It ended up being that I recorded that song. I recorded that song in the UK, and I totally loved the version because I loved the original. It was so easy to do that record. It was a disco and soul hit all at the same time. And it was just one of those songs that just made me feel good. And it came at a time that was really, really important and critical for me, because I had lost a relative of mine. And I remember the first time performing that song on a stage, I felt his presence. And so I never ever thought of that song as in terms of love I lost, like a Paramore, someone that I was, but about the idea of loss, of people that really, really genuinely you have a real strong connection to, and who their presence that you will miss. Yeah, it talks about love too, but I refuse to give some knucklehead, that kind of power. Okay.
I don't blame you whatsoever. Like, you even had the opportunity to even be on stages like Soul Train and Showtime at the Apollo. And what is that feeling like when peers before you and people after you came on Soul Train and Showtime at the Apollo, and looking back now, how much how big those platforms were? Because I told you the other day I was sitting there watching you on Showtime at the Apollo, and you were singing "Don't Make Me Over," and people were like, "Go Sybil," and I'm like, "Yeah, go wait a minute. This is old footage. What am I thinking? When this is an old footage?" But just looking back now, what was that like, just being on those platforms like that?
Oh goodness, it was so great. It was surreal, to be honest with you, because I grew up watching. Let me tell you, I grew up watching Soul Train, and every little girl, I wanted to be on Soul Train. I wanted to move those letters and figure out what I wanted. All of that. I wanted to go down the Soul Train line. That's what I wanted to do. And what ended up happening? It was so funny, because what ended up happening was I did the Apollo, and let me tell you, what is the one thing I was scared? I knew that I was an artist that they hired, but I'm gonna tell you something. I've been at the Apollo when it was an artist who was signed, had a deal, who got booed.
Ooh.
Yes.
No names.
No names.
No names.
Do it to them.
No names.
But I was like sitting here thinking, okay, the Apollo is no joke. They do not. And so I was a little bit nervous. I was a lot bit nervous. I was a lot nervous. with the idea that I would go on and they wouldn't receive me. So when they started saying "Go Sybil," that was like, whoa, whoa. That was like, I mean, that just gave me some that extra.
That give you that energy.
That energy. And so when it happened there, and then when you go on Soul Train, and I'm sitting there looking at Don Cornelius. It was surreal. It was surreal to me, and because that was the platform that was the only outlet. You know, we had American Bandstand, but Soul Train was ours. Soul Train was music and people that looked like us, and so I just absolutely was just in awe. And I will say this: one of the things during that taping, being backstage, I was just kind of wondering who else I was going to see. I was like, who else am I going to see? Because it was so cool. It was cool. And he was cool. It was a lot of fun. I wish everyone could have had the experience, those types of experiences. Every artist needs to have that kind of experience. And I will tell you this, comparable to that, or something that's very similar, in the UK, they have a show called Top of the Pops. And Top of the Pops it was like an American Bandstand, but it's like whatever's tops in the chart. The same thing. I was nervous because everybody's saying, oh, you know, the same thing. But I ended up going there, and it was like the love that was given. So what I'm saying is that when you are able to get on a stage and perform, and who you're performing for are appreciative and really like what you're offering, and it can drive you. That's my rush. That is my high. That is my get off. Yeah. That's my tune up, turn up.
Okay, I like that one. Tune up, turn up. Like that. Because I'm not gonna lie, like I remember when I was a kid, especially growing up in the 90s, Soul Train was out, Showtime at the Apollo, the theme song, Showtime. I can't sing, but and you know, at the Apollo, you're like, hey, do you guys, and then artists would come out twice and perform their hits, and then before you looked up, Showtime was gone. Showtime, Soul Train was gone. You're like, okay, what happened to all the? That was the purpose of what's out there. You get for that few minutes, Dionne Cornelius got to talk to the artists and see what's going on with them, and then they come back, and then the show is over. But that whole hour, you get to really sit here and enjoy the music. You don't have that anymore. You don't have shows like that anymore.
You don't. And I think that a lot of that came from the advent of video shows. And I'm not saying there's something to be said about video shows, but one of the things that I loved about BET programming at one time was the ability to be able to have live performances. They played the videos, but you were able to go and perform. And I performed there too, and that was great for me. I mean, Donnie Simpson, I still think Donnie Simpson with the green eyes. I'm telling you, I was like
Mr. Green Eye Man.
Yes. And so, I mean, to be able to go and perform and on shows like that, those things are missed because it's just very different now. It's so incredibly different now. And do I wish that we had those same kinds of outlets? Yes, I do. Do I think we ever will again? I don't think so. And I think a lot of it has to do with how deals are made, how artists are created. Social media is a big deal. And so people like me, I'm not being funny. I am too incredibly seasoned. Seasoned to be trying to venture down all of that. I mean, I get it and I love it and I respect it. But at the same time, give me a stage, give me a band, give me a microphone, some musicians and an audience, and I'm good. I'm talking about a live audience, a live studio audience. I love this. I love that we can do these types of things.
Right.
But if you're a performer, you've ever worked with a band, it's really difficult to try to get the same kind of, I guess, feeling across to others, through this medium.
Like, I mean, well, at least with my show, you get live, but you don't get no band or anything, but you get a live. Sometimes I might get the artist to sing just a little bit, there's all that copywriting, but they sing just a little bit, but you get a live right here. So news, like social media has taken over. So I know I said earlier, you release 6 studio albums. That's a lot of albums. But out of all those 6, which one stood out the most to you?
Well, it would probably be the Sybil album, which was actually my second album, which had "Don't Make Me Over," "Walk On By." It had a number of songs on it. "Want to Be Where You Are." It had a bunch of songs on it that were good. A lot of covers. And the thing is, I tell you, I made some other piece of old school writers and producers some money. And so I love the Sybil album because of the way that it introduced me to a new market. But then I've had other albums that outside of the US that I absolutely adore. I think they were great packages. Well, for example, the Love I Lost was on a When I'm Good and Ready album, and I loved that. I loved that album. I thought that was a great album. It was different. And one of the things I will say this, I've always been the type of artist. I don't want to be pigeonholed because I'm a Black woman and doing just Black music. I mean, because what is that? Because when I think about growing up and I think about the artists that came before me, Dionne Warwick, her audience wasn't all Black. Okay,
Right.
Gladys Knight, they weren't all Black. You know, Aretha Franklin, they may have been a majority Black, but they were not all Black, and a lot of them refused to even perform in environments where we're segregated. Because my thing is this: I felt as if my voice could appeal to people that didn't look like me too, and I knew that it could because I performed in theater, and I promise you, I was the Black girl with you know, the Black girl with a white lead, you know, next to. So my thing is this: I feel as if what I'm happy about now is that more artists of color and more diversity is exhibited now in music. You have the Lizzos who's not a size 5, okay? You know, you have artists that just don't fit within that mold, and they've created their own spaces, and it's worked for them. Her refuses, you know, I think she's amazing young, you know, artist, and she is just kind of like, she's just doing her own thing. She, you know, she adorns herself in the way that feels comfortable to her. Janelle Monáe, I love her, you know. So what I'm saying is that there are artists who are not conforming, and I respect that aspect of where I see, we'll get back to the part, they talk about R&B is gone. It's not. They've snatched it and decided to call it something else, just so that they feel comfortable, so that certain people feel comfortable with it. Yeah.
Yeah. Before I go into the next question, everyone, please share the video. Please share. So share it to your friends. Let your friends know when this interview. Just share the video. So with that, since you're saying all of that about R&B, what genre do you consider yourself as of right now, or does it even really matter for you?
You know, for me, it does. At this point, I'm going to be whatever. Now, and I hate to say that, but because I've been dance, I've been, you know, R&B soul, and I've been pop. It really depends on the market, to be perfectly honest with you, because I will say this: we're the only country, we compartmentalize. We have to have everything. It has to be country. It has to be pop. It has to be R&B, hip hop. But in a lot of countries, they have one chart, and anybody can be on it. You can have classical music on a top 40 chart. We are the only country. So my thing is this: I just wanted to be popular, pop short for popular. Okay, so the bottom line is that if I want it to, you, as long as you don't call me out of my name, we're good. We are good. We are good. All I want is to make sure that you understand that the music, if it's music that you love, if you call it soul, if you call it pop, if you call it dance, as long as you call me to come work it, I am good. I am fine with that. So I hate the idea that we have to be relegated to a term and stay within that for the sake of appeasing people that will never truly really understand who you are, how you really see yourself.
So, like, at one point, you stepped away from the music industry, you know, for a long time, and you became an educator, which some people don't think to do. They stay in the music so long, they don't think to go do other things. So, what has being an educator taught you that the music industry, you know, really didn't too much teach you?
Well, and I believe that knowledge is truly power, and so I've always kind of been interested in the idea of learning and embracing those things that are maybe not traditional for an artist. But you have to understand, when I started singing, I already had my first degree. I already had a bachelor's degree when I started singing. When I graduated college, I worked as an editor and a proofreader for a publishing company in New Jersey. And so I would gig on the weekends with CeCe Rogers of Someday fame. He was the music director, signed to Atlantic, and I ended up working with his band at the time, CeCe and Company. I wasn't CeCe, I was the company. So and so it was just, I mean, you know, just knowing that I had something to fall back on. It saved my life. It kept a roof over my head. It also showed me that that when you're given more than one gift, that
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you're going to have to rely on that other gift to be able to really kind of sustain you. And I don't feel as if one of the things I feel now is that a lot of my students, when I was actually in the classroom, I would teach a creative writing and lyric and songwriting composition class. And I remember the students, they said they dug me. They dug Miss Sybil. That's what they said. Miss Sybil, you know, they dug me. They thought I was. They thought they said that's what's up, Miss Sybil. That's what's up. You know that I got that all the time. And I think it stemmed from the fact is that I did not relegate their thoughts and how they saw themselves and their writings and their offerings as being insignificant. Because one of the things that I've always said that words are power and words can be your friend, but the voices that they come from make them powerful. When you have a young kid who at the age of 16 is told that he has to go to school or go to jail because he's been on the streets slinging drugs, because that's as a 10-year-old, his mom was addicted to drugs and he had siblings they had to take care of. So what education helped me to do is to be open and to be receptive to those things that are, I may not have been experienced myself, but I feel as if it prepared me to be ready for whatever life threw at me, whatever life threw at me. And so that 16-year-old who was brilliant, but he only knew how to survive on the streets, or that young man that was living in a tent because his household was so toxic that he would rather live in a tent on the side of a brick. That's what I do now. I work with young adults who are deemed at risk, who want to learn, want to get an education. I help to find money for them, and I love that. So singing allowed me to be able to be heard and to be received differently, because suddenly when they found out that, Miss Sybil, I heard your record on the radio, and I'm standing in front of them in a classroom trying to teach them and prepare them, it takes on a whole different vantage. Their perspective is changed. And so it's empowering. It's empowering to be in this place at this time. And I said, I grew up with a family who believed in civic mindedness and being engaged in what's going on in your community. And my parents did it differently. I mean, from taking a bunch of boys, my dad and my uncle, taking a bunch of boys, you know, to a football game or to baseball games that they would have never seen. My mom making sure that girls were ready for school, dressed and had the attire they needed to go back to school, and help the families to put stuff on layaway. So who I am in music and why I am so adamant about not compromising who Sybil is because of where I come from. I come from a proud lineage of women and men who work hard, study hard, and they're willing and understand that sometimes you gotta shift, you've got to shuffle, and you got to shake in order to survive. And so for me, education was my shifting, my shuffling. It was all that. And I would tell anyone, get some other kind of training. You got to have stuff to fall back on. You do.
That's right. That's true. I like that. Shift, shuffle, and shake. I'm gonna use that. I'm gonna use that.
Right.
Can you imagine if you had Priscilla Watley in your class, like someone like me? You'd be like, "Who is that girl?" No.
And you know what though? I've had Priscilla Watley in my class.
No,
and I loved it. No, I love it. Trust me. I did. I did. I am that teacher. I am that instructor who. They used to give me the students. Well, you wouldn't have been a bad student. They gave students that might have annoyed somebody else, and I'm looking at them like, no, we're not going to. Today is not your day to act like you don't have common sense. And so, you know, it's so I could handle that. I could handle that.
Mm-hmm. So what happened if one of your own students will come up to you, say someone wants to do a music or they have their upcoming struggling artist, say, if, hey, Miss Sybil, I want to sing. That's like me telling you the other day, how do you think of my voice? And I can't sing, but it was geared for a question. And I know I can't sing. Like, I let everybody know, don't expect me to sing because I can't sing. But like, say if they, they want to get into music, like what route would you tell them? What path would you tell them to take?
Well, I'm going to say this. One of the things, because where I work, the college where I work, we have an entertainment technology program. And one of the things that I've found out is that they talk about, I want to be a rapper. I want to be this. I want to be that. I want to make my own music. And I said, okay, Well, I need you to string, I need subject verb agreement right now. That's what I need. I need you to do that. Honestly, I want them to be able to understand when a contract is placed in front of them. Now, I'm an educated woman, and I still, reading the contract and securing an attorney to read my first contract, I still, did not get the things that I should or I thought I was getting. So my thing is this: educate yourself, understand what you're reading so that you're not taken advantage of. And find a way to be able to create your own, I guess, your own track. And when I say track, not a record, but your own route. Create your own road, your own path. Don't try to be anyone else, because we are all designed to be who we are, and it's okay. So the idea of copying and mimicking and being like someone else, who does that benefit really? Because that diminishes who you are. And so I would say to anyone now who's saying they want to do this, that understand that it is the music business. It's not just, I want to make music. If you want to make music and make money, understand that the business aspect of it is incredibly important.
Like I know this lady. Her name is Yamini. Yamini has a daughter. I heard her sing. She could sing her butt off, and she wants to sing. So a young girl like that, like, what would you like tell her? What, especially nowadays, because the music industry has really, like you said, it's changed. And it's more digital and everything. There's Spotify, iTunes. Like I told you the other day, I remember times when I used to go to Walmart and go get a CD, and you had 13 songs on a CD, and it cost $20. Where now, like I showed you my iTunes and I had you on my iTunes, I can go buy one song and be $1.29 or 99 cents or 69 cents, and boom, I'm done. That's it. So, what would you say to a young girl like that who wants to sing, but she don't know what route to take as of right now?
Well, first of all, a young girl needs to have an adult. Needs to have an adult, and I'm talking about an adult that they can trust, an adult who has their well-being in the forefront, where there's no hidden agenda and or ulterior motive. That's what that needs to happen. But also, you surround yourself and prepare yourself by understanding, being very clear about the direction you want to go, and doing what you need to do in order to make that happen. I think a lot of times, people want to they're so hungry and so thirsty that they will do anything to make it happen. And that's just not something that I think has legs. It doesn't have long life. It does not have long life. So it's sing and honestly sing wherever you're given a chance to sing. That's in line with where you see yourself. So if church is it, guess what? Let it be church. If it's a play, at your school, let it be there. Don't just think you're going to pop up on a stage without having any type of a lead up. You got to have a lead up. So